Welcome into Steelers Talk. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and for the second time today, I've got the latest Steelers wide receiver trade rumors to get to you guys here less than 24 hours away from the NFL trade deadline on Tuesday. So I can't wait to break this down. We got a bunch of receivers that we're going to be talking about today. We talked about a lot this morning as well, so I would recommend you go check out today's earlier video as well if you want to see what I have to say about guys like DK Metcalf, Courtland Sutton, and other guys like that. Now, before we get into the content today, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we will be going live if a trade happens at any point. It could be 2 in the morning. I'm going to be going live for you guys, all right? Coop and I, we're going to be on call tonight. Whenever the Steelers end up making a trade, if they make a trade, we're going to be going live for you guys, and we're going to get you breaking news coverage for free here on YouTube. So if you're not already a part of the Steelers Talk family, get that done right now and click that subscribe button. So let's start here with Adam Schefter here. And this came out this weekend, and it comes to this has to revolve around Christian Kirk, who is a trade target or a potential trade target for the Pittsburgh Steelers that we've discussed on the show in the past. And this is what he had to say. The Steelers were in the process of trying to get a deal done for Christian Kirk, and league sources told ESPN there was a reasonable chance that the Jaguars wide receiver was going to wind up in Pittsburgh until he broke his collarbone last Sunday. So the way that that's phrased certainly seems like Schefter saying a deal would have had a pretty darn good chance of being done. But to be clear here, Schefter did not say that a deal was for sure done, or that he definitely would have been a Pittsburgh Steeler if he didn't break his collarbone 2 weeks ago. Just that the Steelers were interested, and that there was good discussions being had between the Steelers and Jaguars to potentially get a deal done. And the reality of the situation here is that the Steelers are interested in a lot of different receivers, and they've shown interest in a lot of different guys throughout this process. They were interested in Brandon Ayuk. They were interested in Davante Adams. They were interested in Cooper Kupp. They have had these discussions with a bunch of different teams for a bunch of different names. A lot of those names are still available. So I do think Omar Khan is scouring the landscape right now. So I don't necessarily think that Christian Kirk would have for sure ended up being a Pittsburgh Steeler, but sure sounded like a deal had a pretty decent chance of getting done. And honestly, Kirk's ability to separate, particularly from the slot, would have been nice. It would have been a nice third down option there for Russell Wilson to take advantage of. He's not necessarily the best downfield threat is what I would say. So honestly, I think there's better fits out there on the trade landscape right now than Christian Kirk. But it certainly would have been nice to have a guy like Kirk, a veteran, that can separate against man coverage in this Steelers offense for sure. And speaking of Adam Schefter, he also threw some cold water on the DK Metcalf rumors today. We talked about how Mike Garafolo said that a Seahawks source told him no way they trade DK Metcalf. And according to Schefter, he hasn't even heard anything about DK Metcalf potentially getting traded. This is what he said on the Pat McAfee show earlier today. He says, that's an example of a curveball I'm not expecting. I've heard nothing about DK Metcalf. So if you're hoping the Steelers land Metcalf, I would say don't hold your breath, but you never know. However, I do think that Courtland Sutton looks more possible than what I thought this morning. All right, now I still think it's unlikely. Okay, even Benjamin Albright, who is an insider for the Denver Broncos, says he seriously doubts the Denver Broncos end up trading Courtland Sutton before tomorrow's deadline, but the Broncos did sell one of their edge rushers to the Arizona Cardinals in a trade today, sending a 6th-round pick, or the Arizona Cardinals sent a 6th-round pick to Denver in exchange for Baron Browning. So that behavior certainly points to the Denver Broncos potentially selling, and for the right price, I think that Denver might entertain trading Courtland Sutton. Now, when it comes to Sutton's availability here, this is what Tom Pelissero had to say on the Rich Eisen show. The Broncos have certainly had offers for Sutton over the past couple of years. How does Sean Payton feel about that roster at this point? He would not be cheap, but that's a name to keep in mind. So Pelissero kind of points to Sutton potentially being available, but once again, I'm going to not get my hopes up too high for Courtland Sutton. Okay, and the reason for that is I just think that the asking price is probably going to be a little bit too much for Denver. He is 29 years old, so he is getting up there in age, and honestly, I think they're probably going to want something close to like a day 2 draft pick for him, and we've seen guys like Davante Adams go for pretty much a 3rd-round pick, right? DeAndre Hopkins go for like a 5th-round pick. Deontay Johnson go for a 5th-round pick. And Courtland Sutton's a good player. He's a very solid number 2 receiver, but for a 29-year-old who is on an expiring contract right now, I don't know if trading a day 2 draft pick is really worth it for a guy like Courtland Sutton. Plus, Denver is 5-4 right now. They are definitely in the AFC playoff hunt, and selling away your number 1 receiving weapon on a team with a rookie quarterback, I'm just not sure is something that's really in the interest of the Denver Broncos. Now, do the Broncos really see him as a long-term piece for them? I don't know. If they don't trade him, then I guess there's at least some sort of possibility there. But personally, I would love if Omar Khan lands Courtland Sutton. I've been saying it even close to the draft when he was linked to the Steelers by a couple of people. Adding him to this offense with Russell Wilson when they already have an established chemistry together. He's a great deep threat down the vertical sideline there. I think that he would be an excellent fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to happen because I do think Denver's asking price is going to be somewhere around a 2nd or a 3rd-round pick. And I'm just not sure if the Pittsburgh Steelers and Omar Khan are going to be willing to do that for a 29-year-old on an expiring contract. And really the most that I would offer for Courtland Sutton if I were GM Omar Khan is Courtland Sutton and along with a pick swap. So the Steelers would get Sutton and a 4th-round pick next year from the Broncos, and the Broncos would get a 3rd-round pick from the Steelers, but that's really the most I'm willing to entertain. So let me know down there in the comments section. Would you accept this deal if you were Steelers GM Omar Khan? Type A for accept or D for decline. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So here in just a second, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Prize Picks. And while I tell you about Prize Picks today, go down there, find that pinned comment. It's right at the top of the comments section. And let me know if you're accepting this deal. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks, which is the best place to get real money at sports action all on your phone. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Also, Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you just play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Here's my projection for tonight's Monday Night Football game here between the Bucs and Chiefs. I'm taking the less on pass yards for Baker Mayfield, the more on rush and receiving yards for Bucky Irving, the rookie running back from Tampa that's been excellent this year. And then I'm going to take the more on Harrison Butker field goals made. So if you guys want to get in on the fun right now, download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly when you use code CLNS after playing your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. Prize Picks, run your game. So now let's talk about 2 new wide receiver trade targets that have been brought up over the last 24 hours for the Pittsburgh Steelers that we haven't discussed on the show at all in the past. Let's start with Keenan Allen, a receiver that the Bears traded for this offseason, who has really had a disappointing start to his Bears career, let's put it that way. Okay, Keenan is somebody that a lot of people know because he was a slot specialist and a route running extraordinaire with the Los Angeles Chargers. He's actually a pretty decent run blocker in his prime as well, but now he's 32 years old. He's had a myriad of injuries, all right? He does bring good size, decent run blocking at 6'2", 211 pounds, but he is on the final year of his contract, so if the Steelers trade for him, it would be probably a 1-year rental, and also his contract and his base salary is pretty high up there, so I think the Bears would have to take on part of his salary and agree to do that if a deal is going to be facilitated. And honestly, I don't love the fit with a washed-up Keenan Allen in the Steelers offense that really wants people that can separate vertically down the field. It's my same objection to going out and getting a guy like Adam Thielen. It's that Keenan Allen, he's still a pretty crafty route runner and he can get open over the middle of the field, but is he going to be able to get open down the sideline, and is he going to be able to make contested catches? At this point in his career, I'm certainly skeptical of that. To this point, he has 21 catches for less than 200 yards in 9 games. He has 2 touchdowns. And, when it comes to creating space vertically. His long is only 22 yards. I mean, George Pickens has like 3 or 4 of those a game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So you take a look at my scouting report for Keenan Allen. I like his size. I like his toughness and veteran savvy. I do think he has reliable hands. I don't know if he has fantastic hands or elite hands or, an elite ability to win at the catch point or anything like that. And he's still a crafty route runner, but the athleticism has really taken a dip this year. He's not separating against man coverage the way that you want him to do. And then also the long speed, not really there anymore, and the injury concerns are still very much there. So if you're worried about older wide receivers that have injury concerns, Keenan Allen is probably not going to be your guy, in my opinion. And if you're going to get a guy for a 7th-round pick that's a little bit older, has some injury concerns, all these different things, I'd rather have Mike Williams because he's way better at the catch point in terms of being a vertical threat down the sideline than Keenan Allen is at this point in his career. And I think Mike Williams would be a much better fit for this Steelers offense than Keenan Allen. So personally, if I'm using a 7th-round pick, I'm probably going for Mike Williams over Keenan Allen at this point. Second trade target here is Cowboys receiver Jalen Tolbert. You might remember Tolbert as the guy that caught that contested catch touchdown in the Steelers matchup versus the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football this year where the Steelers lost. And listen, man, Tolbert is a little bit younger, all right? So if you're looking for a younger receiving option, Tolbert might be somebody you consider. He's only 25 years old. He does bring good size to the table. So there's 2 years left on his current contract, including this year, by the way. And like I said, he caught that game-winning touchdown in Acrisure Stadium against the Steelers. He had a pretty decent game in that matchup versus the black and gold against Dante Jackson in particular. And you look at his stats so far this year, not terrible. 30 catches for 353 yards and 3 tuds. And, I think he'd be a pretty solid number 2 receiver option. He would give the Steelers offense something that they don't really have at this point, which is a reliable, bigger second wide receiver on the outside. You can allow Calvin Austin III to really do his thing in the slot. And Tolbert is somebody that can make catches in contested situations down the field. He's done it a number of times this year for Dallas. He runs pretty good routes, actually. So if you want somebody that can create a little bit of separation, Tolbert can do that as well. So I would put Tolbert in the same kind of tier as Mike Williams, where I'd be okay with it, but there's other options I'd rather have. I'd rather have Jacoby Myers. I'd rather have Darius Slayton. I'd rather have, of course, DK Metcalf or Courtland Sutton if those guys are available. But if they end up getting Jalen Tolbert, a 25-year-old that can make tough catches down the field, I'm certainly not going to complain about that, especially if it's for like a 7th-round pick. So let me know down there in the comments section. If you're going to spend a 7th-round pick on one of these 4 receivers, which one are you going to spend that 7th-round pick for? Type KA for Keenan Allen, JT for Jalen Tolbert, MW for Mike Williams, or AT for Adam Thielen. Now, before I go here, a little bit of Gerry Dulac for you. Now, of course, Dulac famously said Deontay Johnson would 100% be a Pittsburgh Steeler this year. A week later, he was traded to the Carolina Panthers, so it seems like the Steelers are either shoveling him garbage and he's putting it out there, or he's just putting garbage out there claiming to have inside information. But this is what he had to say about the Steelers situation right now. The Steelers have been encouraged about the involvement of receivers Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin III, and even tight end Darnell Washington in the passing game. And listen, Gerry, sure they are, all right? I'm sure, to you, they're saying they love Van Jefferson when what he's been able to do for this offense this year, but their behavior in the trade market says something different. They have called about a bunch of the different receivers, Christian Kirk, Devontae Adams, Brandon Ayuk. They've been looking for that final receiver piece for months, all right? So, Gerry, I don't want to hear that the Steelers are perfectly fine with their wide receiver room because they clearly aren't, and they are clearly trying to get a receiver before the deadline. So don't tell me that. And when it comes to other positions that the Steelers could target, Gerry Dulac thinks they could get an edge rusher. This is what he had to say. The most logical position to trade for might be outside linebacker, where top backup Nick Herbig has missed the past 3 games with a significant hamstring injury, and DeMarvin Leal is out for the season with a neck injury. He also thinks they could go out and trade for a nose tackle of all positions with Montravius Adams out, and says, but the Steelers do not have to have a backup nose tackle behind Keeanu Benton after Montravius Adams was placed on injured reserve, and they just allowed the New York Giants to rush for a season-high 157 yards in their most recent outing. And listen, man, I do think that the Steelers could potentially go out and get a different player at a different position. Maybe they get a right tackle to replace Broderick Jones. Maybe they do trade for a nose tackle or an edge rusher here to kind of bolster their front seven and kind of add to their depth. But it remains to be seen here that the Pittsburgh Steelers' biggest need is at wide receiver. So I just think that if the Steelers are going to be making a trade, it's most likely going to be at the wideout position, but who knows what they're going to be able to do here in the next 24 hours. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers trade for a player that is not a wide receiver before the deadline tomorrow? Give me a yes or a no. Personally, I don't think they trade for a non-wide receiver, but I do think they do trade for a receiver. So that's where I'm at right now. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now because tomorrow we've got wall-to-wall trade deadline coverage live here on Steelers Talk. So make sure you click that subscribe button to never miss any of that breaking news coverage.